So we're speaking here with David Meltzer and just asking him a few questions about Red Cross International work. And the American Red Cross is just one part of a global Red Cross and Red Crescent movement. So can you briefly explain how this whole global network works?
So we're one of 186 Red Cross and Red Crescent societies, and in times of disaster, we all have our particular areas of expertise. So we in the American Red Cross, we are really good at the science of distributing relief items. The British Red Cross does logistics wonderfully well, and this all comes together in times of disaster. It's coordinated by the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies in Geneva. And we draw on decades of experience and resources, which is in the thousands of employees globally.
And I know not only the entire Red Cross global network, but also you work with other partner agencies in the field, like Mercy Corps. Can you explain that?
Even with all the resources of the Global Red Cross, there are gaps that we cannot fill. So, for example, in food, the World Food Program, one of our traditional partners, has an area expertise in logistic capacity. Mercy Corps is another example. In fact, in the tsunami, following that response, we partnered. Over 40% of our funds went to non-Red Cross, Red Crescent organizations like Mercy Corps. And in Haiti, we're doing similar partnerships with organizations like World Food Program, Fonds Mercy Corps, Habitat for Humanity, seeking ways to fill gaps with organizations that have capacity that we lack.
So the American Red Cross has also been involved with recent relief efforts in places like Pakistan with the earthquakes, obviously in Haiti, but not so involved with, say, the Australian floods. How do you determine how much of a role the American Red Cross plays in any given international disaster?
The first factor is, does the Red Cross or Red Crescent Society invite us? Do they need assistance? In the case of Australia, it's a very rich, wealthy Red Cross society, so they often, they found the need doesn't exist for assistance from outside the U.S. So that's the first question, do they have need? And then we look to, do we have resources, financial, human resources, material resources that could be of assistance following that disaster?
Makes sense. So you are actually visiting Portland to personally deliver updates on the ongoing relief efforts 1 year after the Haiti earthquake. What is the Red Cross currently doing in Haiti, and what are the plans for the future?
Right now, for the ongoing relief, and we're still doing relief, we're focusing on sectors like health, supporting hospitals, bringing clean water to people, bringing shelter, food, still performing a lot of traditional relief operations even 1 year later. In addition, we are doing recovery work. We're building anywhere from 20 to 30 temporary or transitional homes that'll last 5 to 10 years each and every day. And then finally, the last significant sum of money, over $120 million, will be spent to build permanent homes for tens of thousands of people. These are homes that will have indoor plumbing, and many people will have indoor plumbing for the first time in their lives.
There are so many programs going on in Haiti and so much to do, but can you give me possibly one word that would describe for you the recovery efforts in Haiti?
One word? I would say they are challenging, but we are seeing results. We have many, many people today who owe their lives to the support given to the American Red Cross. And we're able to really honestly say that thousands of people are alive today because of the American Red Cross and the support we've received from donors. We have a long way to go, but we have traveled many miles.
So a question regarding clarification for people that want to help out with disasters like Haiti. I know that a lot of times when a disaster strikes, we all want to give whatever we can, whether it's our old clothes or blankets or food or whatever, but it's always told to us that it's more effective to send cash than stuff. So can you explain that, why it's more efficient to send donations of cash?
If you send stuff, someone has to sort it, make sure the expiration date hasn't been reached. Someone has to pay for shipping. Then someone has to distribute it at the port. Cash is fungible. Cash can be quickly transformed into the items that are needed. Cash can also be used to help the local economy get on its feet. When the terrible flood struck Pakistan and many people, 20 million people, lost their homes, we needed to provide tarps. Well, those tarps that meet our strict specifications are manufactured in Pakistan. So that's a way of both quickly helping people through cash, as well as efficiently helping people, avoiding the cost of shipping items, and then finally helping the local economy by making orders from that country.
Great. So let's talk about how people can help possibly in other ways. I know that the group of volunteers that you have that help in international disasters is a very small, very highly skilled group of people. But if someone wanted to start off on that path of becoming eventually an international volunteer, how would they even go about doing that?
The traditional path is start as a volunteer for your chapter, become a member of the DSHR roster, and really get your experience responding to domestic disasters. Then you can apply for the international roster, and as you mentioned, it's extremely competitive. And in a normal year, we'll deploy a handful of people because there are rich resources in most countries that exist today. So if a terrible disaster strikes Haiti, we look to the Haitian Red Cross, which has tens of thousands or thousands of staff and volunteers to respond to the disaster. Those are the arms and legs, if you will, that we reach people through our sister societies around the world.
So start locally. That's a good plan for people.
Actually.
Can you describe one experience that you've had, I know you've probably had many, in international disaster relief that's touched you personally?
Most recently, I was in Haiti talking to one of the people building a transitional home, Haitian, and I talked with him through an interpreter. And he spoke of the fact that he felt good because A, he's getting paid, and that will help feed his family. He also said he felt good that he's helping his community. He lived in the community that he was building homes for. And then finally, in so many words, he spoke of how much better he felt about himself. Around the world, if you give people ownership of their recovery, if you give them some control over their own recovery, you've helped start the healing process. And so for this person, just talking with him, where he was talking about the financial benefits, the tangible benefits of putting his neighbors under roofs, and then finally the psychological benefits, to me that was a great experience.
Great. And one last question. There is a disaster happening somewhere in the world almost all the time. Being faced with that reality, how do you maintain hope?
You focus on what you can do, not what you cannot do. If I can help someone, one person, then I've done good. I try to help as many people as I can, but we're all limited in our resources, in our own human capacity, and our own financial capacity. So if you can just focus on what you can do, then you can feel good. Don't focus on what you cannot do, because we all have our limits.
Thanks, David.
You're welcome. Thank you.